إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل الله فلا هادي له ونشهد أنه لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وحبيبه صلى الله عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى صحابته الكرام ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أوصيكم وأوصي نفسي بتقوى الله بالسر والعلن. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. أما بعد. My dear brothers, Allah Ta'ala tells us a very, very unique, interesting story in the Quran. He tells us about someone who's given a gift. Nobody else has been given a similar gift except a father and son, Sayyidina Dawood, Sayyidina Sulaiman. Gift that was given to the Prophet Dawood alayhi salam and his son, Sulaiman, is that they could understand the speech of animals. They could communicate with animals. In the Quran, all over the Quran is emphasis that Allah knows and we don't know. There is a lot of things we don't know. And there are a lot of powers that exist in the world that we don't know about. And just because the last 4 or 500 or 1,000 years of people haven't discovered something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. In fact, it has been said that not even 10% of the content of the ocean has been discovered. That's just the ocean, the physical world. From the unseen things right now that we cannot see are more than the number of seen things right here. How many waves are passing by? Radio waves. All the Wi-Fi waves. How are you getting text messages as we speak? How is it coming to you right now? Signals are passing by from towers to everybody's phone as we speak right now. If you could see everything that existed, you wouldn't be able to see your hands right here. So the amount of unseen things that exist are far greater than the number of seen things. And from the foolishness of human beings is to reject the belief in anything except that which you can see, which is a belief called naturalism. Well, Allah Ta'ala Quran that are unseen. And he tells us about ilm al-kitab, a certain knowledge of the book that could cause physical things to transcend cause and effect in time. And he brings us that Sayyidina Sulaiman used to speak to birds, and his reporting on his kingdom was allocated to the birds, as the building up of his kingdom was allocated to the jinn, an entire intelligent being that has moral choice that we never see. One of these birds was missing in his morning meeting. He came late, and so Sayyidina Sulaiman inquired about this flight of this bird, which is the hubu, until this bird came late to the king's meeting. How do you come late to the cabinet meeting? Sayyidina Sulaiman sent a message to all of his other ministers that you come late to the king's meeting, you're either going to be killed or tortured. You're not respecting the king. Not only is he a king, he's your prophet. Now keep in mind, only in Islam is Prophet Sulaiman, King Sulaiman a prophet. In Christianity and Judaism, he's a wise man. And both of them say he died a Catholic. This is why the Quran says, وَمَا كَفَرَ Sulaiman. Why would Allah Ta'ala tell us in the Quran that Sulaiman did not disbelieve in Allah and did not worship false gods? It's a correction of Judaism and Christianity. As Jews and Christians say, he used to have a hobby, collecting women, pagan wives. And he softened for these women, and he would let them worship their false gods, and he would worship with them to make them happy. So that he died a Catholic. This is what they say. And the Quran corrects this. It says, وَمَا كَفَرَ Sulaiman. He never made kufr. But this bird said, I come upon a kingdom. When it arrived, it says, فَمَكَّثَ غَيْرَ بَعِيدٍ. That this bird sat right in front of Sulaiman. Meaning, the bird's not afraid. He's not afraid of the anger, of the reaction of Sulaiman to punish before inquiring. So he inquired, why is it that you're late to the cabinet meeting? The bird said, I discovered a kingdom you must know about, and that's what delayed me from coming to this meeting. This was the great kingdom of Saba in Yemen. A wonderful kingdom, full of success. Today you say Yemen, and everybody thinks a poor country. But in the past, things were not the same in the world. Yemen was a beautiful, green, and lush country. Specifically northern Yemen. So much so that the Romans called it Arabia Felix, meaning the happy place of Arabia. Felicity, place of felicity in Arabia. The happy place. The place of greenery and monarchy and kingdoms and wealth. And Allah speaks much about the people of Saba in the Quran. But he said, this is a wonderful kingdom. How do we not know about it? We're only in Jerusalem. Not so far off is Yemen. How do you not know about Saba? An amazing kingdom with beautiful buildings, beautiful people, a lot of money. Except they worship the sun. So Sulaiman alayhi salam began an exchange with the queen of Saba. In this exchange, he willed to prove to her that he is on the right and she's on the wrong. And the fastest way to do this was that he invited her to her kingdom, to his kingdom. In this meeting, there was a jinn. The jinn said, O Sulaiman, I've reached a level of knowledge. Before you even end this meeting, I can bring her throne right here. So that when she comes, she'll see her own throne. And she'll know you have more power than her and her son God. Another man, some say his name was Asif ibn Balkhiyah. He said, I have greater knowledge. Before you blink, or before you collect your thawb, I can bring that throne here. And so he did. Before Sayyidina Sulaiman could bring his thawb up, collect his thawb, and blink his eyes, that man had recited some words, and the throne of Bilqis was right there. And Bilqis came, and she said, you have a throne just like mine. And Sulaiman said, it is yours. So that began to make her think, and she entered Tawheed. She became a person of Tawheed. So let's ask this question, why is Allah Ta'ala telling us? Is this just fairy tales that Allah tells us? Or He wants us always to recite this story? And always to know that there are powers in the world that we don't know about. There are abilities in the world to achieve the effect, the desired effects that you need, that you do not know about. If you only have Iman and belief, then Allah will open those doors. This is a cure. This is the remedy. This aqidah, this belief is the cure and the remedy for every hopeless, helpless person who looks around and he says, we have no power. We have no ability. The tyrants have all the power and we have no power. Our task in front of us is monumental and we're weak. All over the Quran, Allah is saying, no, you're not weak, you're just ignorant. There are powers that you can use that Allah created for you as asbab, but you just don't know about them. And you will never know about them if you don't first have Iman and belief. This is the why the Sahaba, radiallahu ta'ala anhum, when they embodied this aqidah, had no fear of the Romans. How can you fight the Romans, who in history have had the greatest standing army known to mankind up until that point? And the Romans had moved over to Byzantine, which is now Istanbul, and they ruled from there. And Khalid bin Walid was tasked with fighting about 400,000 Roman troops with 30,000 troops. How are you going to defeat 400,000 troops when you have 30,000 troops? But the aqidah that there are powers in the world that you don't know about, and some you know about and you never thought they can benefit you. That's the point of these stories. We have another story in Surah Al-Kahf we all know about. How are 5 or 7 youth going to escape a kingdom? In the old world, you had a kingdom, then you had a long expanse of nothingness. No food, no water. Until you had another kingdom. You could never escape your kingdom. They went out on foot with one dog, not knowing how in the world they're going to escape the pagan king that they just fled from. So they said, we'll just take a rest in a cave. Okay, that's not a solution. That's a solution for a couple hours. What's the solution in the future? How are you going to live? They have horses, you're on foot. What you walk in one day, your horse can ride for in half an hour. Yet Allah Ta'ala put them asleep for 309 years. Entire generations lived and died when they woke up. Is it a thing that a human being can stay asleep for that long? Are we going to try now and escape by sleeping that long? No, that's not the point. The point is to know that Allah has powers that you don't know about. Today, our great enemy, an enemy of humanity at large, is trying to silence everybody from speaking against them. And the Zionists have purchased CBS News, all of CBS and all of the radio stations that they own, and all the affiliates are now in the hands of Larry Ellison, the #1 funder of the IDF. He pays their salaries of the Israeli Defense Forces, been purchased by this guy, founder of Oracle. Paramount Movies. How many movies made by Paramount? Maybe 15%, maybe 20% made by Paramount, purchased. Warner Brothers, purchased. TikTok, purchased. Twitter, not purchased, but working together. Soon, they will silence they're paying $7,000 up to, for some people, 5,000, some people 1,000, just to make a post to support Israel. With a bludgeon, they're coming to stop people from talking. It's not going to change anything. They imagine that they could close the doors of the truth. Another door will pop up. Because when the war began and the genocide began, nobody imagined that social media would do the undoing of Israel. No one imagines it. Social media has been at our fingertips for years. People have been using this stuff for years. No one ever imagined in their mind that Allah would use these people on these platforms to undo American support for this genocide, which we're complicit in. And our government is still complicit. No one imagined it, correct? Very correct. If we had imagined it, why didn't we use it earlier? But Allah Ta'ala uses things you have no clue is going to fulfill the purpose. You have no knowledge about this. So Allah Ta'ala tells us you never limit yourself to what you see and what you think you know. Wallahu ya'lam wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah knows, you don't know. Now it's a matter of they're going to close and control social media. What's next? There's going to be a next. And in fact, this could possibly be worse for them. Just as the attack on Gaza turned out to be far worse for their future if they had done nothing and just been victims. The whole world would have sympathized with them. But with every attack on Gaza, they're just digging a worse hole for themselves. No one imagined that this would be the solution, that this would be an undoing. Likewise, this ban on speech, you can't say anything on these apps. Soon enough, they will be all closed up on everybody. This is also another undoing for them. They wish to close up the truth, and Allah Ta'ala will open up another one, and you're going to regret the hole that you dug for yourself. This is the aqidah, the belief in Allah's power, always supersedes action. Khalid bin Walid did not defeat the Romans with soldiers. He used fire, he used night, and he used cliffs. He went around a cliff and he built huge fires. And he used women and children to run around making little fires. So the Romans could think that behind this cliff is another Muslim army. So we can't go there. Khalid bin Walid, they lost the first 2 days of battle. They lost. Because the Romans had superior archers and fired arrows that were just decimating the Muslims. How do we defend ourselves against a superior Roman archer? He said you attack at night. So he used the night. You can't fire arrows to something you can't see. He said, how are 30,000 people going to kill 400,000 people? He said, we're not going to kill them. We're going to separate ourselves and just run them off the cliff. The Roman army, way back in the old days, we're talking over 1,000 years ago, was not defeated by a Muslim army with swords only. It was defeated by the nighttime. They were defeated by fire, and they will run off a cliff. They were tricked, thinking that there's an army coming on the other side. So where could we go? There's nowhere else to go except a cliff. When they retreated, they all fell down cliffs. And they were decimated. Allah Ta'ala, His truth will never die out. And the Muslim shall never, ever lose his faith and lose hope and lose his motivation and lose his energy. There's never no hope, there's only ignorance. And Iman is the beginning of curing ignorance. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Allahumma ahdina fi man hadayt wa barik lana fi man a'tayt wa qina wasrif anna sharra ma qadayt. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa in lam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna min al-khasirin. ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك أنبنا وإليك المصير. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان. اللهم إنا نسألك حبك وحب من يحبك وحب كل عمل يقربنا إلى حبك حب نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم. We ask Allah Ta'ala for ourselves and for all of our youth that He make us, that Allah make us love Iman and make it sweet in our hearts. And make all forms of disbelief, disobedience, and deviation bitter and distasteful to our hearts. We ask Allah Ta'ala for the people of Palestine that Allah be with them and give them victory in this life before the next. We ask Allah for the people of Sudan to close and finish and end and bring an end to the civil war. We ask Allah for the people of the Rohingyas and the Uyghurs that Allah Ta'ala give them rahmah and sabr and sakina and push away their enemies. Likewise, the Muslim suffering all throughout the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask Allah for the sick of our community that Allah gives them shifa. For the poor in our community that Allah Ta'ala gives them rizq. For the unmarried that Allah gives them spouses. And for those seeking children that Allah bless them with children that are a benefit for them in this life and the next. And spouses that are a happiness in dunya and akhirah. Lastly, we ask that Allah Ta'ala make none more beloved to us than His most beloved Sayyid al-Kawneen, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.